When I tell you we were shocked at her breed makeup, I am not kidding. I could not believe what her #1 breed was. The much anticipated DNA results of Veronica are here. Today is also a special episode because we wanted to talk to you about the future of our content and what that's going to look like. We've gone through Veronica's basics, and now it's just a matter of refining those and going on to more advanced things as she becomes more skilled at what we've taught her so far. You've really heard me say that it takes about 2 to 3 years to really train a dog. And what I mean by that is not that dogs are so slow that it takes them that long to learn. What I mean is
it takes us that long to show them every way we want them to behave everywhere, all the time.
And so we want to make sure that we really broadly focus on that aspect of training a dog moving forward.
By far, the most challenging part of training my dog is bridging that gap between here's the lesson, step 1, 2, and 3, and actually getting her to do it in the real world.
And so we're gonna re-pick up our series, Dog Training Experience, featuring both Inertia and Veronica moving forward.
This is a special day for you.
More details on our next training series are coming soon.
Veronica, this puppy right here, came from a pretty questionable background that made it really hard for us to determine what her genetic heritage might be.
You were seeking either a Chihuahua or Chihuahua mix or something like that, weren't you?
Yes.
And spoiler alert, her main breed is not a Chihuahua.
Especially with her brothers and sisters all looking so different. I mean, seriously, look at this. Can you believe that all of these puppies are from the same litter? We used an Embark test.
They have been a sponsor of our videos in the past, but we are partial to the Embark DNA test.
And it found 6 breeds, plus Super Mutt, of course.
So let's start with the Super Mutt then. These are going to be like trace amounts of certain dog breeds.
Yeah.
Like Bichon, Maltese, something like that maybe?
German Shepherd dog.
Oh, right.
Duh.
Yeah, of course.
And Pitbull.
Well, so she's a pit mix.
You can tell because she's made of kisses.
Yes.
Now to the top 6 breeds. Number 6, she is 7.3% pug.
Oh, wow, pug. What a funny looking dog they are. My brother has pugs and they are amazing.
The interesting thing about this 5th most influential breed to me, more of you guys guessed it than many of the other breeds. Number 5, she is 8.2% Pekingese.
Oh, okay, like Chinese companion dogs.
Of Chinese royalty, I believe.
Oh, very fancy.
Imperial. I think it might be the underbite.
You think so? Can you see her underbite? Bree was not happy about the underbite.
It's all right, we're gonna get it medically corrected.
No, we're not. I think it adds character. It doesn't seem to interfere with her frisbee.
Number 4, the exact same percentage as Pekingese. She is 8.2% Rat Terrier. That one didn't surprise me that much. I don't know why.
Now that you've said it, I can definitely see some stereotypical Rat Terrier in her. I mean, of course, you know, there is a lot of difference between individuals of a specific breed.
Okay, top 3. This is my favorite part. Number 3, at 15.9%.
I don't even remember number 3.
You don't? It's Cocker Spaniel.
Oh, of course.
I was surprised, but I am also not surprised. They're hunting dogs. Yeah, they're actually called Cocker Spaniels because they would flush out woodcocks. Cocker Spaniels. She's got the poofy ears.
Well, she doesn't have like the permed ears though.
Her ear size is not right, but she's got the poofs. Did you know that Cocker Spaniels are scientifically known to have the sweetest eyes of any dog breed? That's a scientific brief fact that I just told you right here. It came from my own brain, but it's true. Look at them.
Hashtag not scientific on the screen.
Okay.
What the? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to train your dog a handstand. The first thing you want to do is get them comfortable with putting their hind legs on your chest. Ah, too much dog butt. Then you want to get them to stand on their hands. And now there's only 2 more breeds to go.
One of them is 16.7%.
Yeah.
And the other one is 34.1%. Yes,
so what's her number?
And it is not Chihuahua, which is number 2.
Number 2. Number 2. So she does have a lot of Chihuahua, but
Yes.
she's not anywhere near like half Chihuahua. You're 83% not Chihuahua.
Even though you're from Mexico.
I want to talk about that really controversial study.
It's about whether your dog's breed even matters at all.
So what is her number 1 dog breed?
Her number 1 breed, it's 34.1% of her DNA. It's Poodle!
Small poodle specifically.
Poodle.
You can see it in her totally if you're using your imagination, although not really. You can't really identify dogs easily by eye. So that makes her a poodle, Chihuahua, Cocker Spaniel for her top 3.
She's a poochie cock.
You just couldn't wait to say it.
This has been lighting up the dog world. A lot of you have been happy about this, you've been mad about this, you've been talking about this for a couple of months now. The study is called Ancestry-Inclusive Dog Genomics, challenges popular breed stereotypes.
Do you know what I wish wasn't true though? When people select a dog or when they are training a dog, whenever they're thinking about the qualities of a dog behaviorally or their personality, I wish they wouldn't put so much emphasis on what breed a dog was.
A study was asking, if I know an individual dog's breed or genetic makeup, based on that information alone, can I predict their personality?
Right. And the answer was no. I actually could not understand the outrage. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, dogs are a lot like people. You can think of sets of full-blooded brothers and sisters who have completely different types of personalities.
When you think about it in terms of dogs, I think a lot of us know people who've had multiple dogs of the same breed, and all of them are clearly totally different personalities.
Right.
And yet, it's somehow so easy for us to fall into this trap of expecting every dog within a certain breed to be a behavioral clone of all the other dogs in that breed.
Why was it so controversial? Why were dog trainers in particular? I'll speak from my vantage point. I noticed dog trainers of all types of disciplines, whether they were, quote, positive or balanced dog trainers, a lot of them were equally offended by this.
I think the answer to why people were upset is a lot of misunderstandings about it. Dog breed doesn't affect behavior according to new genetics. Dog breed doesn't affect behavior. That's not what the study said, and that's Smithsonian writing that title. It's not that dog breed doesn't affect behavior, it's that you can't predict an individual dog's behavior based on their breed.
Correlation causation fallacies throughout the interpretation of this have been really unfortunate, because I think most people would agree that, yeah, there's differences in personalities and some labs actually don't like to retrieve. How many of you can tell me that in the comments? Longtime viewers and readers of my book, this will not be new information to you. I've been saying this since day one in my dog training career because it was immediately obvious, but we do need to back up statements like that with scientific data.
When headlines like that are written, then everyday people who are considering getting a new dog might be misinformed and might think, let me get a dog just based on looks. I think that's the reason that dog trainers were so upset, because they foresaw a lot of potential problems with people not considering how to find the right dog for their lifestyle and seeing this as just like a free pass to go get whatever dog you think is cute.
The classic example I was hearing a lot of, it's like, great, everyday people are now going to go out and get high drive dogs like a Malinois or something like that, not realizing that if you do get a stereotypical high energy Malinois, they are going to require an enormous amount of time and effort in order to satisfy and keep happy. You know, they're a very high maintenance dog if they meet the stereotype. And the study was clear too, in that it wasn't saying that, hey, no dogs meet the stereotypes. No golden retrievers can retrieve. It didn't say that.
That's not what it was about at all.
Right, exactly. It was, though, saying that within a certain breed, you're going to get dogs that don't adhere to the stereotypes.
So how did they actually get this information? Because I think one of the major points of contention from people about this study was that the data collected was genetic information and surveys.
Oh no, survey data? That can't possibly be credible.
From 2,000 dogs, that's a big sample size.
Right.
For dog trainers to hear pet parents were surveyed for this study and to balk at that, I think is pretty reasonable.
I think when people hear survey data, they think, oh, someone on BuzzFeed was just taking surveys.
Right.
And the questions were thought of by some assistant writer in the back room or something.
Sure, yeah. Facebook gave me a pop-up and I just click, click, click without much thought.
I've just learned recently, along with you as we were looking into this, how they go about getting scientific survey data. It's not good enough for a group of scientists to sit around and come up with some questions and be like, this is scientific. And it seems that science has found a way to science-ify survey data and correct for abnormalities and errors and allow you to get much...
Squirrel.
Yeah. We were actually listening to a podcast. What's the name of that podcast?
Oh, it's called the Cog Dog Podcast.
Great job.
Sarah Stremming.
Really good discussion between her and the second author of the study, is that right?
Yeah, she happens to be friends with Dr. Jessica Heckman.
I think you guys should listen to it, but basically they were making the point that we tend to think, oh, it would be a lot better if they could have dog behavior experts go and visit with these people for an hour, do a series of tests. That way they'd be able to get this information a lot more accurate.
Right, to have a dog expert directly analyze the dog that we're talking about. A lot of people thought that might be a better way to go about this. But it turns out in animal behavior that using what's called a validated survey question is actually the most accepted way to gather data because it's a hard thing to do.
If you think about a so-called animal expert coming in and evaluating a dog, they only have that slim, narrow bit of time. They don't understand necessarily the nuances of that dog in the way that the person who spends much more time with that dog does. The best person to train your dog is you, because you know your dog best and you're spending the most time with them. How can we be sure that they're answering them in the accurate way that they're intended to be answered, I guess?
Yes, I said validated very purposefully
That's right.
a moment ago, because validated survey is a scientific term. It means the question has gone through a gauntlet and has come out the other side.
They figure out many different angles from which to ask the questions, and they throw in trick questions kind of to make sure that you're answering correctly.
Essentially, they want to make sure that if they ask two different people about the same dog, those two people are going to answer in a very similar way. Or if they ask the same person about the same dog 6 months apart, that they're still going to answer in a very similar way.
Let's just give an overview of these 6 steps. I thought this was interesting because dog trainers way too often balk at survey studies. And if they're validated survey questions, I mean, this is a very scientific way to get very good data about dogs. We should be careful about saying, oh, that's not good data, but we should still be skeptical. I'm not saying don't be skeptical and don't try and knock down the study or prove it wrong or whatever. I mean, that's the spirit of science. So if you are one of those who says that, oh, survey data, that's not good enough data for me, understand that that's what you're saying isn't good enough for you.
Also, true, this is a place to start. That's all of science. So
Yes.
if it isn't good enough for you, great, let's keep going, because I think that's the whole point.
Of course. What's the first step?
Establish face validity. You have your surveys evaluated by 2 different parties, an expert in the field you're studying and an expert in asking survey questions.
Okay.
2 very important experts. Step 2, you run a pilot test.
So like with a smaller group of individuals, and I guess the aim of the pilot test is to make sure it stacks up.
Then you clean up your data, and this is where those trick questions come in that you were talking about, or at least where some of them start to come in. I think this is really interesting. Throughout your pilot test, you need to have questions that are phrased negatively and positively, meaning you ask the same thing in 2 opposite ways.
You're looking for consistency.
There are also a lot more mathy things that go on throughout this whole process, so if you're interested, you should really look it up on your own, because this is a really, really basic overview.
Yeah, and then the PCA, like, psh.
It's a principal components analysis. Scientists have figured out a mathematical way to validate whether your survey is measuring what you really think it is, and this is the step where they do that. Step 5, you check for consistency internally within your survey.
Step 6, revise.
You revise that survey, and then you go out and do your actual study based on all of that you've learned, because now your survey is validated.
So that is the prerequisite for these scientific survey questions.
Of course, still it's not perfect,
No.
but there is a lot of thought that goes into asking these questions from dog experts, from statistical experts, from behavior experts. There are a lot of angles that have been put
Considered.
into consolidating all of this data and analyzing it. The bottom line of all this survey stuff is that it turns out pet parents are actually pretty good at communicating facts about their dogs as long as you ask them the right questions in the right way.
It's not that breed doesn't influence behavior and personality. It's that you can't tell with an individual dog whether or not they're going to adhere to those certain qualities or stereotypes. That's what we're saying here.
To go back to the Malinois example, the point of this study is that somewhere out there may exist a lazy Malinois, and that doesn't mean they're not a Malinois.
That's right.
Sometimes dogs defy their stereotypes.
But I swear, like, even amongst dog training professionals, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. This has just been an observation. It's always a red flag to me when I hear somebody say, oh, they're a blank, so they'll be good at blank. You may be building on a flawed hypothesis if you're making too many incorrect assumptions about the dog that you're working with or teaching or raising.
The bottom line, breed is not a very reliable predictor for an individual dog's behavior, and so how can you find a dog that's right for you?
Pay attention to the individual dog more than anything. Try and get to know that dog. Interview that dog. See how they play with tugs. See if they look scared, if they're more reserved, if they're more chill, if they're more hyper. Their energy level.
Yes, yeah, actually interact with them, actually get to know them. You may not know this, but I interviewed, at least online, many, many puppies before we found Veronica.
Somewhat related to all of this,
Your dog's environment can influence their personality almost as much as their genetics.
we can influence their behavior through outside actions.
And isn't that incredible that we have so much control over that?
That's why dog training is such a magical profession, I think. and probably why the general public thinks that we're wizards when really we're just people. If you just modify the results of a dog's behavior with certain consequences or rewards, then you're able to control how they behave in the future. So reinforcing things that you wish to see repeated kind of gets you an amazing dog, it seems. If you want to get your dog's DNA tested, check out Embark. I'll have a link below. Recommend.
Highly recommend. Twice as much genetic info as every other test.
Reasonably priced too. Subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying it. We have lots of new and different content coming.
This Poochie Cock is about to learn some serious stuff now that she's almost 1 year old.
Make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.